All right, the hour is upon us. I'd like to call to order the Property Committee meeting for September 8th, 2025. Roll call.
Robert Becker,
Here.
Richard Anderson. Here. Renee Lyon.
Here.
Dick Miller. Here. Richard Seisha.
All present and accounted for. Open meeting law requirements met there. Miss Mary? Okay, we've got a 12 agenda item agenda for the agenda. Need a motion to approve the agenda. So moved. Motion by Doc, second by Dick. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, none, motion carried. All right, all of you got the previous meeting minutes. I need a motion to approve.
I move to approve.
Motion by Rich,
I'll second.
second by Renee. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? None. Motion carried. All right, number 6 is a public comment period. Members of the public will have a 15-minute block of time to comment on today's agenda items. Members may be present in person or call in to make such comments. To comment by phone, please call 715-538-1894. Public comment may be extended or curtailed at the discretion of the committee, board chair, and after advisement by the committee board. All right, number 7, possible discussion and possible action on policy of county-owned land. We'll try to, we put this number 1 because Susan's got to get going, but I've talked with Nick, I talked with Neil, and with Susan at length, and we think we should at least initiate this and get this process going, and maybe have Susan write up a policy that this is the policy that we have when someone approaches us with a request to buy county-owned land. We're not going to mess with the hunting and all that stuff now. This is just in case somebody approaches us. And we put in there something to the effect, I thought, whatever you guys want to do is what we got to do. But one of the ideas I had is we put in there, each one of these requests will be looked at on its own merit. And it'll be at the discretion of how the committee feels about if it's a good move for the county or if it's not a good move for the county. So that this way, or something to that effect. Mm-hmm. Is that okay with you guys? Susan, do you have anything written up yet, or?
No, I just took notes from and kind of formalized the issues, because one of them was, that you've just hit the nail on the head on, that there's no process for the county on what to do if somebody approaches us and wants to purchase land. So when that happens, we're kind of, scratching our heads going, what do we do? Which committee do we utilize, and so forth. So this would be to formalize a process to bring it here and try to streamline that. And we do have a number of parcels that's come up over the course of the summer and last year, or maybe a year or two, a number of times, that we may not want to have. We also might have parcels that we want to keep because they are helpful in the long run for example, for highway purposes. And so this is just really to formalize a process on what do we do.
Yeah, we have to get something going, because we've been hanging here for a year on this and never have put anything together, because we've been going to this committee, going to that committee, and just having discussion on it. And I think if we get something down as a policy and some kind of system to follow here, a procedure to follow, we can expedite when these do come to us, and it'll leave us the option of, you will never come up with something like this, I don't think. Like Nick said, with one policy that's going to fit everything individually. So that's why if we put in that policy, that each one will be analyzed on its own merit, it gives us a little more options and leeway, so we can look at what they paid for it, who paid for it. Was it, like Susan said before, it was given to them? Did we buy it, or did the state buy it and then give it to us, or how does that work? So is that okay with you guys, or do you have any ideas that you'd want to have to see if Susan could incorporate it in the policy that would make it better for us? Nick, do you have anything?
No, not at this time.
Does anybody? Nobody. Well, so at the next meeting, we'll put this on the agenda, and Susan, you should be able to get something together by then. And I'll stop up, maybe just to see how you're coming on it, or just send me a text and I'll stop in. How's that?
Yeah, that is fine.
This way I don't have to keep bothering you. All right?
Thank you.
Does anybody have anything else on this, so we can get this going
Well,
on?
just a comment. In the past, when we've had properties that due to not paying taxes,
Right.
the Exec Finance Committee has had the responsibility of determining that particular matter. Are you suggesting that this committee take that role, or what are you thinking?
Yeah, that role is, I think, that's more exec finance because of the fact that's taxes.
Okay.
This is county-owned property already, so that if somebody wants to acquire it, I would think it would come from the property committee, because it has nothing to do with the taxes. This is just sale of property of county land. I think there's a difference there.
Yeah,
Susan?
I think there's some fine lines, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
If there's any foreclosure, we're going to have to consider that, and with the law change within the last year or so, foreclosures are on a different track. I do think that raises a good question that we need to really look at what property we are foreclosing on. We had a property last week, really, that perhaps in the long run, it wasn't the best move. And so we pulled it off, but down the line, we're going to have to think about that, because it's, Nick, you can describe it better, but it's right-of-way property. It's not going to be beneficial for the county, but we still have it now. So what do we do with it? And with the new law, we have some requirements too. So I thank you for the question, because it's a good point. And I don't know if, Nick, you want to add anything?
Yeah, I agree, Susan. We have had a number of properties through the last probably 10, 15 years that the county has foreclosed on, put out the bid. We've gotten bids on it, and it's really no use to anybody. It's road right away, really, and I use the example of the one in 2024, where no one really looked into it prior to it going out to exec finance. And I'm not really sure what happened during the meeting on why exec finance allowed it to go out for bid, but it was an acre and a half of road right-of-way, State Road 121, and the top bidder was someone from California. And now they own a portion of State Road 121 east of the village of Pigeon Falls. It just should have never even gotten that far. If the county did take the action of foreclosing on it, we should have just kept it in the ownership of the county and not even went through the expense of putting it out to bid.
Yeah, I think that anything we approve, I think we need to make clear in that rule, or whatever it may be, that the necessary parties, such as the highway department, needs to be consulted on any action that's taken.
I agree. I do. And I think even going back a step, I think that land record should be consulted with the foreclosures.
Yeah, 'cause we've talked to Neil extensively on this. He's been in the loop with the conversation the whole time, so, yeah, because that is a big part of it, is highway.
Well, and I think Susan maybe is kind of referring to that outlot in the town of Gale. You know, there's some really tight restrictions on what can be done with that property. Granted, it's 16 acres, but the majority of it is all in floodplain. And maybe I'm not understanding what Susan is saying, but she could be saying, does the county even want to foreclose on it?
And I was referring to the other property, I think it was
Yeah.
number 1 in the list, but that's also part of it. I mean, that's a property with a lot of restrictions that we do have to recognize. The foreclosure process does recognize those restrictions, but there's certainly properties down the line, for example, that could be contaminated. And if we acquired those, do we acquire the risk as well as the cost in fixing those properties? So it's part of this conversation, or it should be.
We had that not too often, maybe 20 years ago, that station,
Oh, yeah, I remember that.
and that hung fire for years and years, until it was evidently cleaned up.
All right, does anybody have anything else
I
on
was just
this?
wondering, that piece on 121, you're talking by Bobo?
Yes.
That's just about a piece of worthless land. What the heck did you get for it?
So, all right. Anybody else have anything else on this? All right, good. All right, next up, Samuel's Group update. Kurt, you got the mic.
All right, good morning, everyone. Good to see you.
Thanks, Nick.
I will keep my update here in the room brief because I know you want to tour our progress that's there. So we're still targeting the end of the month for turning over that second floor. We're working on doors and hardware and finishes, ceilings. The terrazzo is going to be started to be cleaned up and ground. So it's moving along well. We're still on track with schedules. I want to commend Jeremy. He's been working closely with Tad and Dominic from my team about moving some of those phasings around so that it's less disruptive for your groups. And it's been good. The coordination between Jeremy and the team has been successful. So things are moving along well. And then obviously once we get you occupied into that space, then we'll start diving into the balance of the project. But so far things are going well and we're on schedule. So I don't know if you want to do the tour after the meeting or what the plan was. Or,
we'll do it
okay.
after meeting, yeah.
Okay.
If, then you'll start the second phase?
Yeah, so I don't know the details. I know Jeremy and Dominic worked through it, is that we had multiple phases on first floor. And it sounds like they've condensed some of them to try to help with some of the public traffic flow. So, yeah, so it's still going to be broken down into smaller phases, but it sounds like they've packaged them a little better. So, and I think it'll work better.
So the completion date is?
I think they're still targeting April of next year. So that's when everything's done. So, yep.
Does anybody have any questions for Kurt? And I'm glad to see no change orders. That's always a good thing.
Well, they have. I mean, Jeremy's been working with change orders, but there's been some credits and some ads, and he's been working through all of that. And the process that we've set up, so he's reviewing all of them, is going well. So,
Report. I hope we get a lot more credits. All right, does anybody have any questions for Kurt? Okay, thank you, Kurt. Then the next is IT Department. Tim, Mr. Robertson.
Good morning. I will again register my concerns about putting the IT director in front of people on Monday morning at 8 o'clock. I'm not caffeinated yet.
Have a sip of coffee.
Yeah, I got some. So this week, Renee and Kathy are both out, so it's Daryl, Scott, and I. It's going to be a little crazy. We have training the next 2 days that I'll need to attend in Kathy's place, so I'll need to pay attention. And then we have an ongoing issue with something that's attached to our network is sending out spam on port 25, or an organization that tracks spam thinks we are. So we've been wrestling with that, and we are not going to get our public IP address unblocked until we know for sure we found the source of the problem. We're pretty sure it's somebody with a device that's connected on our guest network. So we're blocking ports on our guest network. If you hear complaints because people can't get the Wi-Fi at the county to work, it's because we're making it not work. We have to find what this little doodad is that's causing this problem. So far, so good. We worked with the management team, discussed the fact that they'll have to change how they do a few things because when that port is blocked, outgoing emails, there's certain features that are built into some of our software that generate emails. One of the features is our printers have a copy and scan function. They can scan and it'll email it to them. We have to cut that off. We have to scan to a folder instead. So there's some inconvenience for staff, but for the most part, it would only impact people that are visiting the county. And then once we've identified the problem and we know for sure, then we'll speak to TCC and they'll go upstream and say, you can unblock these people. So we're working on that. That's a pretty high priority right now. We're also configuring the audio codes equipment this week and next to get ready to move the operation from dispatch over to their new home, which is still scheduled for late October. Not holding. We have at every turn we keep encountering more issues. The phone vendor came in to install the T1 backup connection for 911 and insisted that they couldn't put it in the new location because it's not part of this address. So bureaucracy. Don't let people tell you that government is the only ones that do it, because there are so many layers of stuff at phone companies. I can't even imagine how they function. It's just unreal. So we're working our way through that. We're gonna just go ahead and extend some copper from our existing first floor closet over here where they installed the circuit, and we're gonna connect it through the conduit that was put in place by Samuels over to our B1050, and hopefully our guy from AT&T will be able to hook that up, and everything's gonna go great for dispatch. They're getting a little antsy. We wanna move them over, so. Currently on target for late October. Cross your fingers. We recently were allowed to participate and give our feedback on a innovation planning grant that was secured by the Village of Trempealeau. They wanted to look at a way that we could unify or coordinate IT services across the county. Their report was produced about a week and a half ago, and we got a copy of that. And incorporate some of the things we're talking about. Next steps are probably going to be talking about governance. How do we start coordinating on things where we can, but we probably need some sort of collective agency group that will look at how are we going to decide who does what and come up with memorandums of understanding. We've been talking about this for years, about consolidating, particularly with law enforcement. Since 2015, and Sheriff can speak to how they came to this decision, but they decided to share the public safety software system with all the agencies in the county, and at no cost to them, correct? They had some upfront costs, but that, very minimal. So it's a real benefit to the county because the sheriff's office, all that records data that's being produced within the agencies in the county is all in one place. So it benefits law enforcement by having a quality system countywide. One of the issues, of course, is they have other things other than that system. They have tracks data from trying to upload traffic tickets. They have other things that they do on their systems that aren't connected. And then they have to go through the same auditing process through the Crime Information Bureau as we do. And there's headaches galore. You could go talk to your local police chief and they'll tell you all about it. So Renee has to do a lot of work working with these agencies anyway. So we've extended an opportunity for these agencies to have us cover their IT needs for their law enforcement division. We started with a pilot project with Whitehall 2.5 years ago, and then we've now extended to Oliva, Strum, and Osseo. That information made it into this report. We've proposed providing IT services for law enforcement agencies, all the other agencies in the county, for free, so that they can purchase the security equipment they need to make that connectivity secure between our organization and them, and then we can all pass our CIB, CJIS audits a lot easier. Renee is putting a lot of the time in anyway to support them. Why not make it all encompassing so that we get the whole picture? We also are amenable if the county, if the 31 municipalities inside the county wanted to have county IT take care of all their needs on the business clerk side of things, we'd consider that. We think we could handle it. However, we'd probably have to add staff and charge back for that. Perhaps the group that decides to govern based on this report would see a way forward that involved a consortium of public and private enterprises there. But we think it's kind of exciting that somebody's stepped out and done something, and we're very supportive of moving forward with the consortium effort in the county. Policies. I emailed everyone on the committee 2 policies that I've updated, the disaster plan policy and then the disposal policy. Those don't really carry the weight of law, so I don't run them through Corporation Council. They're primarily guidance for IT. I like folks to look them over, and if you have any questions, to reach out to me. I don't like talking about those in public hearings because it's specific procedures that we're doing, oftentimes involving a breach or something that infects our networks. So if you have any concerns, please let us know. If you want, as a committee, to stamp your approval on them, I'd welcome whatever input you have, Mr. Chair, about how we would go about doing that in a way that isn't creating a public document that everybody that wants to seek out and find. Of course, by saying that, now somebody can make a request, and I'll have to give it to them, but. However you want to
Probably.
handle it, I'm welcome to it. But next month, in the next few weeks, I'm going to be producing a unified security policy for IT. Again, it's an IT document describing how we are going to do things. But we would like your signing off on that specifically, because that does affect more than just law enforcement. All the HIPAA, all the confidential agreements that we have. Everybody here at this organization deals with a lot of things that shouldn't just be
Put
sent
out
out
there.
via email. So
Yeah.
we have to have some policies in place on how we handle that. And then that's most of the policy discussion. And then budget is going on right now. I showed you last month the preliminary. It got a little worse, but so far that's been incorporated. And I'm trusting in Rebecca and the exec finance committee to get that all right. Anything else? No, that's it for me. Okay, sorry.
Anybody have any questions for Tim?
Goodness.
If not, thank you, Tim. Appreciate the report. Next up, Jeremy.
Good morning. So I'm going to start with what Tim just ended with budget, because I told you guys last month I'd send you my budget, and I typed it all up, and I had it in email, and it looks like I never hit send, because it was still sitting on my desktop. So this is just a copy of the expenditure portion of my budget, so the stuff that deals with the utilities, the paper supplies, vendors, and stuff like that. There's not a huge change on that, and this is again how it's been submitted. This will be, it could be changed by anyone outside of me after that, but this is just the one that I submitted. And so looking at it, there's the only changes really on this one are on line 220 for utilities. It went from 228 to 230, and the utilities on that one is what constitutes the water and the electricity for this building, and that's just to go with the slight increase that I'm going to get from the utility provider. And basically, this was my first year to try to budget accordingly with the new building, because that first year we actually did it was kind of a really big guesstimate, because when we got the building turned over, we didn't know where we were going to be. I'm still sitting pretty, but this is just a precaution to bring that one up for $2,000. The next change is on 235, snow removal, and it went from 11,000 for this year to 9,000 for next year. And there's a decrease in that one because I don't need to rent.
Okay. We haven't had snow for 2 years.
Agreed.
So how could it go up like that?
My snow went down
Well,
from
I was
11 to
looking at-
9.
I was looking at 22, it was 4,000. At 23, it was 6,000. 24, it was 7,000.
Yeah, and again, I'm just hedging my bets because the year that I don't put that much in and don't buy enough salt is the year that I'm gonna get 24 inches of snow in one crack. So, it's a decrease in this one because I'm not renting that piece of equipment anymore because we purchased the skid steer for the unit. So this is just basically for, salt. And again, in my opinion, even if I spent all $9,000 on salt, I'd rather do that because it's cheaper than one slip, trip, and fall from any employee in the building when it comes to the medical expenses that comes with that, so.
Well, that's, yes, that's part of snow removal, but I just.
Agreed.
I was-
And this-
you have to admit, it has gone up substantially for,
So the spending has stayed the same, but the budget has just gone down because I've always kept it around between 9,000 and 11,000. I may not have spent that much, but that's just where it stays because one of the years I was here, it did go up that high. Next one is 240. That one went from 72,000 for this year to 74 for next year. That's just repair and maintenance, some of my vendors' stuff, purchases for vendors and stuff. Again, when you look at the 3-year average, it's about 50, but some years are more, some years are less. So again, I'd rather turn more back into the county at the end of the year than ask for more in October if need be. Next change is at 327 for annual inspections, and that went from 19,000 to 25,000. The reason for that is the x-ray machine at the front door and the body scan x-ray machine in the jail. It's not so much the warranty, but the services that came with that. When we purchased it, came with the radiation surveys for 3 years. Those are now rolled back into the county to pay for. And those range from $2,500 to $4,500 for that radiation inspection that needs to get done every year. So that's the increase, the reason for the increase in that one. That also does the fire alarm system, the hood suppression systems, the elevator inspections, everything that requires a permit from the state or an annual inspection, the generators and stuff like that. Next, maintenance supplies at $350 went from $84,000 to $85,000. Again, just a very small increase, but it's because the cost of some of my paper products, those percentages keep going up every year. So it's not a huge increase, but it is there. And then at $810 for the impound shed / radio towers. That one went up $1,000 because we took on the mini split air conditioners that we put into those radio towers, and now the generators are falling under maintenance too. So that extra $1,000 coming towards me is for the oil, the filters, the time and everything to do all of the generators at all the radio towers throughout the county. So from 2025, it's $565,000. 2026 is $575,000. So overall, it's about a 1.8% increase in my budget. So it's still an increase, but it's not as much of a percentage jump as some of the items that I purchase have gone up. So, but we should still be good because as you can see from the 3-year trend, some of my stuff, I don't hit those line items completely, but overall, my budget in the 11 years I've been here has never gone over. The other line items that I didn't include in this are the ones that are either outside of my control when it comes to healthcare, health insurance, and salary increases and stuff like that. But overall, my whole entire budget was only a 2% increase, incorporating everything else. But this is the only one that really, I thought you guys really needed to have an understanding of why it went up. Any questions on that before I jump into the other 3 pages of stuff that I have? Okay. So I'll start with the change orders stuff that you guys had started going over earlier. So far, change orders that I have approved all the way through have totaled about $46,000 out of that $250,000 contingency. And that includes we added some extra roller shades, some window coverings in some offices that didn't have them, and lobbies and stuff like that. The new ceilings that you guys approved for the hallways. We moved some doors from one office to another. Some water damaged areas that were in the north courtroom. So we had replace some sheetrock because there was some intrusion through one of the walls. When we started ripping everything down, we found that. I had them replace some of the HVAC grills that were in the ceiling. So like the vents like this that were either dinged up or just so that we didn't have 2 different styles in one room. We insulated some piping and then adding some drywall to the hallways where things were going down. So all of those have totaled about $46,000. Now my credits back have totaled about $26,000. So all in all, out of contingency, it's about $20,000, which adds up to the hallway drywalls, or the hallway drop ceilings that we had replaced. So there is another change order in the works. Because we are gonna walk that construction site after this, and I'll kind of show that it has to do with some caulking stuff. I'll explain that as we walk through. I'm not presenting that now because I don't have any final numbers on it, but I'll tell you what it's about when we go through. That way at the next meeting when I bring it up, you'll kind of know what we're talking about there. So all in all, we're sitting good on contingency, I think. Out of $250,000, we spent $20, which is a pretty low percentage point for the amount of time that we've been into the project so far. And thankfully, there's been nothing too crazy that we found as we started opening up those walls. But we're about halfway there. So fingers crossed, we got nothing too crazy.
Well, I hope you can tell us the same thing in the end of next April.
I'm hoping so too.
That would
Like I
be
said,
great.
the more things that we sit down and make some changes on, any credits that we can find back to us is a boon for us. But again, there's gonna be something that's unforeseen, but we're doing our best to keep as much as possible in that.
I just want to give Jeremy an attaboy because he's identifying things when they come up about, should we spend some money on this for the long-range investment versus, just cutting corners? And it's been you're doing a great job of being able to manage that, so.
Mr. Chair, may I ask a question?
Sure.
Speaking of that, the things that Jeremy has caught and that Jeremy's catching and change things, did the asbestos abatement go okay? Is that completed?
It's not completed. There's still gonna be some stuff that needs to get done as we move into different phases. But all the work that's currently under construction, that has all been abated. There's been no issues with any of that stuff. There's just a few small areas, a little bit in 1D, which is part of the second floor area that's not under construction quite yet, but it's in the next phase.
Okay.
And then there was a question on some of that when it actually came to some stuff on the first floor that me and Tad have been discussing, because it was marked as asbestos, but it's an area outside of work that we're doing. But that's on track. There's been no issues. There was concerns, obviously, when people were still working in the building, but the amount of safety that was done with that, with everything, we shut down the HVAC systems at that point. They plasticed everything off. They, grilled off all the ducts, and we had no issues. But again, I could see where people did have some concerns when it was happening just because of the nature of what the job was.
Perfect. Well,
But-
thank you, Jeremy. I'm relieved that we addressed that.
Yep. So for the past month and the upcoming month, so a few things that we have going on, and I can't remember if I discussed some of this with you last month, so if I did, I apologize. We were having some issues with the dishwasher in the jail. We kind of figured out what was going on with that, and then right above the dishwasher, there's a big giant hood. You turn the fan on and it sucks all the moisture out of the building. The fan that's sitting there is not powerful enough to pull out all the steam. And then we have some moisture that's condensing on the top of that dishwasher, and then it's leaking on some of the components. So working with WHV, who were the ones that installed that original fan, we're getting that replaced from a 700 CFM fan to a 2100 CFM fan. Right now, I've got no cost coming to me on that one because it's, in my opinion, it was an engineer's problem that decided to go with a smaller fan at that point as opposed to us. So I've been working with WHV on that one. So hopefully we won't have any more issues with that dishwasher going forward when we're pulling all the moisture out of there. Working with Jay and Melissa from ADRC and Human Services, when we move down to the first floor, the building is going to become more of a maze for people to get where they need to go, because to get to the first floor, you're going to have to go to the second floor to go back down to the first floor. So what we have done is purchased a cubicle that we're going to set up here in the front entryway, and a social worker will be seated there through the duration of this construction project to either meet with individuals to kind of escort them where they need to go, or in the case of ADRC, to have somewhere that's semi-private to go over Medicare enrollment and stuff like that, so we don't have to bring that part of the population through the building to the second floor, back to the first floor and winding them around. So I spoke with Melissa on Friday to let her know that cubicle is here, so we're going to discuss where we're going to place that, and then get with IT after that to make sure that it's, the internet connections and everything will work for them where they need to go, because it's not like we have a lot of data jacks in the lobby. So, but I spoke with Daryl from IT around that one. He knew what was going on with that. This week, one of my existing CIP projects for this year was the removal of the fire pump in the old building. That will be happening on Thursday. Fire line will be here to pull out the fire pump. And what that fire pump did was just increase the pressure of the building, so that, because there used to be, and there still is, stanchion pipes throughout the building where firefighters come in with hoses and hook up. With the current water pressure from the city and the boost that comes from the fire trucks themselves, we didn't need that pump anymore. And if it's in the building, it needs to operate. It doesn't operate. It was cheaper to remove it than it is to repair or replace it, so that will be happening this week, and then I'll be in compliance with that. I also have some mini splits, which are the little wall-mounted air conditioners that will be coming in. That was also a CIP project for this year, to replace some ones in the server rooms for IT. Basically, it's because those rooms, this room sits at 72 degrees, and then we like to have a separate system for those IT rooms to keep it at a comfortable temperature, because all of Tim's equipment puts out quite a bit of heat. So we try to replace those about every 10 years, because I'd rather replace it at a regular interval at the end of life before it actually dies, and then we're struggling to try to get it replaced quickly. So I have 2 of those coming in, one to replace a unit in the lower server room in the old building, and then one as a standby until I figure out what we're doing with the first floor IT closet, because there's one in there that needs to get replaced as well, but I don't want to start dinking around in there until everything that Tim has to have done in there is done. We're also having some sewer issues in the old building that's not tied to the sewer issue smell that we're having in this building. This building, it is an HVAC problem where one of our louvers are getting stuck open, and it's really close to a sewer vent on the roof. So when it gets stuck open, it starts to suck in some of that sewer vent smell and spread it through here. We've got that one under control. In the other building, I'm pretty sure I have a hole somewhere in one of the vent pipes, one of the plumbing vents. So I'm trying to schedule appropriately because I need to do a smoke test on the building. And what that will incorporate is basically I'll be up on the roof with a shop vac running in reverse, sucking in a smoke bomb and blowing it down into a smoke vent, and then going through the building to try to figure out where that smoke is coming out. I don't particularly want to do that with people in the building because, one, even if I send out an email to everybody, someone's going to miss it and they're going to freak out when they start seeing smoke. And 2, if there's smoke does get into the building, it's going to take me a little bit to evacuate that smoke, even with running the HVAC systems at 100% evacuation. So it's a very unpleasant odor. If you've ever smelled a dry trap before, and it's permeating that second floor from time to time. So, and I'm not super concerned yet because it's primarily where the construction workers eat lunch. So we'll deal with it when we get to it. But Tad is aware that if I'm here on the weekends or something, that I'll keep him informed of what's going on. So I went over the budget with you, going back onto the winter salt issue. I did disorder my winter salt for this year, so in case somebody said something, people don't like it when they see me messing with salt and snow equipment and before it's season. But it's cheaper for me to buy that stuff now than it is to try to buy it in December. So I got all that ready to go. And then we also are going to be in this building trying to work a few second and third shifts to try to get this terrazzo flooring in here ready for the winter. So we'll be buffing it real good and then putting some, like a sealer on the top of it to help getting any pock marks or anything like that from the salt. So that will be a challenge because moving into the next one, staffing has been an issue for me at the moment. I did have one person put in their 2-week notice, and that's already done and gone, so I'm short-staffed. One person right now that currently works in the old portion of the building. I did stop up to HR last week, and I did have a number of applicants that we are scheduling for interviews. After this meeting, I got to go back to HR to see if anyone else applied over the weekend and then add them to the pool if they qualified. And then we potentially have interviews hopefully set up for next week, which will then, give me 2 to 3 weeks before we fill that position again. So we are, like I said, we are running around quite a bit, especially now with the way the construction project, everything is coming to fruition now that it's very military-esque. We're going to hurry up and wait, and now we're going to hurry up as fast as we can because everything is going to get turned over relatively quickly. And as we learned through IT and land management, we did get those areas turned over to us, and we cleaned them really good, and then a week later, they're covered back in drywall dust, concrete dust, paint spray over dust. So we've kind of put a hold on cleaning a few things because we don't want to do it 3 or 4 times. But I'm hoping later in this week, we should be able to start shifting a few of the departments and start making way because we need to get prepared for Samuels for near the end of the month when they do a full turnover. They are going to want our north basement, which is where the TV studio is, because we have cosmetic carpet paint, some small mechanical issues that need to get corrected down there. We need to try to schedule so that we can get Mary relocated into her area because once we get Mary empty of her area, then we have to move administration down to where county clerk is so that they can take care of the remaining portion of the second floor. So we have a lot of leapfrogs scheduled to go. And then I spoke with Register of Deeds. They also have to move, but they are on the very bottom rung to get moved because no one is moving into their space. So they can stay there for as long as possible because, one, they have some of the most heavy and the highest amount of stuff to move. And since nobody's going in there, there's no construction happening. And she was fine with that. So, but we have to also get the treasurer up, because then we have to move human services down to where the treasurer is, because we're a lot of leapfrogs. So we've got it all on paper. Everything looks great on paper, so we're going to see how well that works going forward.
Let's hope it continues.
Yes. The only issue that came up last week that we found when it came to the construction was we got all of our doors and stuff in, but 3 or 4 of the doors came in that were stained the wrong color. So those were already talked to the provider for that, so the new doors will be here in 3 to 5 weeks. There's no charge to the county. The Samuels will end up charging back to the door provider for the labor that, we had to put the doors in so that we had doors now, and then when the correct color comes in, they'll swap them out. But other than that, this coming week we'll be busy between, as Kurt kind of mentioned, late this afternoon, early evening, they'll be here to grind down the floor and the hallway on the second floor. The drop ceiling crew should be here by now, putting in the hallway ceilings on the second floor. Painting touch-up. We have a few HVAC issues that still need to get corrected this week. So it'll start looking a lot better. Once the grill or the grid work goes up, then the electricians can put the lights in the hallway. So we're steaming along, but I couldn't move anyone right now if I wanted to, because we still need to get the fire alarm and smokes and strobes and all that stuff installed into the offices that are ready. But it's clipping along, and my guy that's here, he's well prepared that we're going to be using a dolly in our backs for the next few weeks. So, but we're good to go. And the other thing for this week is we also the jail bunks. I know that was kind of gone through here, and then the full county board as well, so you're all kind of aware of what that is. The jail inspector, the state inspector, will be here tomorrow, and the way that the state wanted it done is we had to have one of the bunks made to present to the inspector so that he could sign off on those, and then we have the rest of them made. It's a literal carbon copy of the bunks that are there. We sent him the one spare. He made it. We're picking it up today. We'll go over with the jail inspector tomorrow, and then once he signs off on those, I'll have the vendor create the other 18 beds that will be going along with that, and then we'll be scheduling the install of that. I'm anticipating mid to late October is when the installs should be starting on that. And that one will work with the jail because, again, we have to shift some people out of here as we put the bunks in, and they'll have to figure out where we're going to be putting them at the time being, whether we shift a few to Clark or whoever they have a current contract with at that point. So, but that project is underway as well. So, other than that, there's probably 100 other things, but those are the main priorities that stuck out in my mind. So, any questions or concerns or?
Thank you, Jeremy. Appreciate it. Nobody have any questions for you? You did a good job there. No questions. Thank you, guys. Thank you, Jeremy. Thank you, Tim, for your reports. Appreciate it. You too, Kurt. All right. The next meeting is going to be October 13th at 8 o'clock. Everybody okay with that? Okay. Well, we've achieved everything on the agenda, so I'll call this meeting adjourned.